Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Wednesday, the 15th day of March 2023. A little chilly here in Florida this morning, but I hope that you are safe and warm. I hope that your family is safe and warm, that the needs of you and your family in terms of food and shelter and clothing as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field who, with the first responders, are out here every day saving lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage for us to keep streets and sidewalks and parks clean and disease-free. And those that make deliveries of things like mail and food and water for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women who are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the teenagers and children that are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. The victims of human trafficking, sex slavery, prostitution, child prostitution, pornography, and child pornography. Double curses on the perpetrators. Double curses on the profiteers. Double curses on the perverts who create this industry. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. There are nearly 600,000 men, women, and children living on the streets of the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. There was a basketball game last night. The New York Knicks ended their road trip 2-2, which is what we expected, what we hoped for, at least coming in a 4-game road trip after playing in Miami and playing in Boston prior to with that one game at home and then starting a road trip. They ended in spectacular fashion, winning 123-107 over the Portland Trailblazers. Of course, if you saw the game, the big news out of this game was the bench. The bench is going to be very, very important as we're getting ready for the playoffs. What people don't understand about the stage of the development in year 3 of the Knicks right now is when a team is in the championship window, they could lose certain players in the rotation and replace them almost without missing a stride. Okay, they can lose certain players in rotation and replace them without missing a stride. A team like the Knicks, as deep as they are, when they lose a Jalen Brunson, it takes a couple of games to adjust. Okay, in this case, it took them like 2 or 3 games to adjust to the loss of Jalen Brunson, and then start to get back into their stride. The bench is key because, see, when Jalen Brunson's out, you got to start Emmanuel Quickley. Emmanuel Quickley is generally, one of the captains of MOBB. So when you're losing that, you got to have an adjustment period, and that could cost you a game or two just adjusting to that. But last night, the Knicks were now adjusted, and of course, the bench came in last night and scored 45 points. That's tremendous bench activity. The bench, just talking about the bench. The bench last night had 18 boards. Not 18, I'm sorry. The bench last night had 18, they had 18 defensive rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds. That's right. 18 defensive rebounds and 4 offensive rebounds, total 22 boards. They had the bench led by Josh Hart and Deuce McBride. Yes, Deuce McBride. The bench led by Josh Hart and Deuce McBride had 16 assists last night. Okay, so that the starters got off. They started off very slow. This is the danger of Julius Randle starting the game with threes. Now, when he starts the game shooting threes and they're falling, that gets the Knicks off to a hot start. But when he starts the game off shooting threes and they're not falling, as long as he keeps shooting them and then not falling, it's tough for the rest of the team because he's the leader. He's one of the leaders of the team, especially with Brunson out. So that's what was going on. And the Knicks start off in a 10-0 hole, and then it was like 14-2 or something like that. It was a hole. It was early in the game, but you don't want to start off like that. But when the bench came in, immediately started chipping away at the lead. Immediately. And like I said, they generally have RJ from the starters with them. They started chipping away at the lead. And then, of course, we all knew, in fact, I've been telling y'all, I knew Deuce McBride was an elite and is an elite defender, but he could play, he could shoot the ball as well. It was just a matter of consistent minutes, which he hadn't gotten yet. He still hasn't gotten consistent minutes. If he got last night 25 minutes, if you give him 20 plus, 25 every game, You're going to see a lot of games like that he had last night, where he scored 18 points, 6 of 8 from the field, 4 or 5 from the three-point line. He didn't shoot the ball well from the foul line, which is unusual for him. 3 assists, 2 blocks. He was tremendous. Tremendous defense on Dame Dollar. Tremendous defense on Anthony Simons. That's what you're going to get from him, okay? But you can't get it from him right now. And people say, Tibbs got to find him time. You can't just find time, okay? Got a 9-man rotation. Deuce is the 10th dude. And the reason is because Josh Hart is built for the bench. He's in his prime, this Josh Hart. He's 28 years old. He's built for the bench. And so you got to have him in there. And then quickly, of course, it's quickly. And then, of course, you got Brunson. So right now, Deuce, because of how stacked we are, that position, that's why I don't hear nobody talking about no point guards. We don't need no point guards. We got him. Okay? And so that's why Deuce is where he is. But, let's just, right now it's rolling. I'm not worried about Deuce. The Knicks got something there. They know they got something there. But it's good to know that if Emmanuel Quickly or Jalen Brunson or Josh Hart is out, you got that right there. Okay? And so he came on 18 points off the bench. Josh Hart, the hustle of this guy plays with the grit. He had 9 boards, 8 assists, and he's in his perfect role. He's not a starter. He's a bench piece, but he's a perfect bench piece. That's what you want. A guy that can finish games for you. That's what you want. You see, if you could get your starters playing optimally, like, for example, like I said, let's say there's games that Julius comes out hitting everything, right? And then, of course, you got Brunson. When you got guys like that coming out the gate putting pressure on you, and then you come with this bench, especially in the playoffs, this becomes extremely effective. So the fact that Tom limits it to a 9-man rotation is built for the playoffs, okay? It's playoff-type rotation, and that's what he's building for all the time. He's always looking to trying to get to that playoff spot. And so here we are, alone in the 5th seed. And with Brooklyn last night, I was watching the game, Brooklyn again, until the Knicks game came on. I was watching Oklahoma City against Brooklyn. What a game that was. And Oklahoma City is for real. They are also, right now, they are in the 8th spot. It's them, Dallas, and the Lakers, all tied for the 8th spot in the West. And they're only 2 games from Golden State in the 5th spot. The West is tight. It's crazy. So it wasn't that Brooklyn lost because Oklahoma State is sorry. Oklahoma State. OKC is sorry. OKC is good. Okay? Shea is the deal, as we know. And they got a lot of young players. Lou Dort, Josh Giddey. They got a lot of young players that can play. So when Holmgren comes in next year, if they could get, I'm thinking if they could get 60 games out of him next year, they're going to be something else, man. And they may cause some noise this year, in the play-in. If the playoffs would start today, they would be in the play-in playing the Dallas Mavericks in a 1-game playoff. And that's a toss-up. See, that's the thing about the play-in. It's like the season, but it's more intense. It's just like 1 game. And anybody in the NBA can beat anybody in 1 game. See? It's 7-game series, the best team's going to win. But not necessarily 1 game. It's like the NCAA in that regard, right? Except it's the league, so it's much more intense. So in the play-in, anything can happen. All right? So, man, this is going to be something else. But they beat Brooklyn, so now the Knicks are a solid 1 game ahead of Brooklyn. Like I said, this ain't over. This is going to go back and forth. But this next week is very important for both teams. Brooklyn has the harder schedule, in my opinion, in the next 5 games. But it can make or break who's going to be the 5th and the 6th seed this next week. Because there's only right now for the Knicks, there's only 11 games left. There's only 11 games left. So, and for Brooklyn, I think there's 12 games, 13 games left. So it's going to make or break who's going to be the 5th and 6th seed. That's what the battle is for. Right now, like I said, the first 3 seeds are set to me. There's a chance for Cleveland to catch Philly, though I doubt that's going to happen. And Milwaukee, Boston, and Philly are going to be vying for the top 3 seeds. And then Cleveland's going to be in 4, and it's between the Knicks and Brooklyn for the 5th and 6th seed. Thing is, nobody wants to play New York in the first round. Because one of the worst things you could do if you're promising, if you're in the championship window, that means Bucks, Boston, Philly. You're in the championship window. One of the things that will cause you to have all kind of problems, firing coaches, trading players, is to lose in the first round. Okay? And so what you want, if you're those teams, what you don't want is to play the New York Knicks in the first round. Okay? You just don't want that. See, if Cleveland loses in the first round, it's not as big a deal because everybody's young. They got Evan Mobley. He's a kid, basically 21 years old. They got Jared Allen. He's very young. So Darius Garland. They got a lot of young talent over there. So you could just take that to me. Oh, okay. We're disappointed this year. We try to come back next year. But if you Philly with Embiid, or if you Boston with Tatum and Brown, or if you the Bucks who've already won a chip and you got Giannis in his prime, you can't lose in the first round. Okay, this is going to be hell to pay. So, nobody wants to mess with the Knicks in the first round. And right now, the Knicks would be playing Cleveland in the first round. Okay, and that's more than likely the scenario. But at the same time, I ain't going to front. Nobody wants to mess with Brooklyn either. This boy Bridges is balling. He's just straight balling. Okay? He is. And you can see he's feeling his oats. He's feeling very confident. And he's got the green light. Him and Cam Johnson got the green light. Nick Claxton is like Mitchell Robinson. Very much so. It said Mitchell Robinson 2 years ago. They got a squad. Okay? They got a squad. They got enough veterans to make it work. And nobody wants to mess with them either. Right now, Philly and Brooklyn, I'm going to tell you, that will be an interesting series. I will tell you that right now. So, this is going to be very, very exciting playoffs to watch. Like I said, the Knicks, the next game they play is Saturday afternoon against Denver. Denver recently, no, I'm just saying recently, they have not played well on the road recently. They just haven't. They just lost to somebody. Who they lost? They lost to Toronto last night. They lost 4 straight. Chicago, they lost at San Antonio, they lost to Brooklyn, they lost to Toronto. They just been having it rough last 4 games. But see, even with that being said, they still running away with the West. That's how far they are ahead of everybody. Okay, they still running away with the rest. So they still 4 games up on Memphis. Now Memphis could catch them without Ja. That's unlikely, but they could. But they running away with the West, even having lost 4 straight. Okay, so they still a really, really good team, and you can't take them lightly at all. So just because they lost 4 in a row, you might be their first victim after the first W after losing 4 in a row. So they're down. It's a good time to catch them though. So the Knicks are playing them at the right time, but they're in the Garden, and you know how the Joker goes off in the Garden with Jamal Murray. Yeah, it's gonna be like that. So the Knicks got to be ready. I'm glad Brunson will be back for that game. I'm very confident in that. They haven't made it official. I'm just saying, I believe he's going to be back for that game. Yeah, we're going to need all our cylinders for that game. Deuce probably won't get that many minutes in that game because you're going to have Quick, Hartenstein, Hart, and Obi. And then, of course, you're going to have RJ playing with them. But that's our regular team. But Tibbs knows if he needs to, he could reach into his deck and pull his Deuce card. He knows he could do that. And Deuce knows he could do that. So it's all good. But that's going to be the next game. It's going to be a tough game coming up against Denver in the Garden. So all of the games, like I said, right now are very important. So we, got to be ready. But this was a tremendous win by the Knicks. Tremendous game by Deuce McBride and Hart. The bench really won us this game. Time to move on. 5th in the East. So